Cultivation curve, ancient rules, new world word. See the soul, learn and burn. Grow through what you've earned.
Cannabis history, genetics, breeding, cultivation, and growth through plant medicine.
The cultivation curve,
Where the wisdom takes root.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back for part 2 tonight with Micheal Thue.
Yes.
We're having him on our back. We tried to have him back a few weeks ago, but due to technical difficulties, we had to reschedule. Well, we got him back tonight. We're going to see what he's been up to, and we're going to talk about more in depth about things we didn't discuss on the last episode, which what I remember is we didn't talk a lot about breeding or cultivation. So I was listening in our own intro. I'm like, cultivation curve, breeding, genetics. So we got to talk about some of that tonight. So let's bring on Micheal and bring him on back.
Alrighty.
What up, dude? Welcome back for part 2 with you.
Hey, thanks guys. Thanks for having me on again.
You're welcome.
Oh yeah.
So what's
what?
like there in Michigan? Sorry.
Oh yeah, I gotta remember where he's at, dude, where we're located. Because actually, you're in Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Do you know any cocoa growers there? Because like the brand I work for, Grow Junkie, is actually starting to pick up more and more in Michigan. For Cocoa Court, my boss says it's like a replica of Florida when it comes to facilities. The amount of facilities they have there and the way it operates is very similar to Florida's operations, even though they're not recreational. They're still a medical state. So a lot of the medical side of Michigan is replicated. Looks a lot like Florida's, from what I'm gathering from my team. But
so a lot of the aeroponics, putting the aerators in the like 4x4 cubes. And if some of the growers are doing that with the cocoa cubes, in Michigan, and there is a lot of plants being grown in this state, right? We have some of the absolute cheapest prices in the state of Michigan. I read articles on a regular about, attacking, looking for Minnesota license plates coming into upper Michigan, Wisconsin, sitting at the Wisconsin border, like just, there's dispensaries a stone throws away from the state lines, all the way. So the north and south.
Wisconsin's so behind on the curve. Just, no thanks. Don't bring that over here. Not even medical. Don't even discuss CBD. Get it out of here. Well, they do have CBD stores in Wisconsin, but they're very stingy.
And they still sell a lot of the Delta products. So they still have a lot of the THCA flower, and so they got their shops. It's just people don't really realize the difference of THCA flower when all it is non-decarboxylated flower, and I think all of us get non-decarboxylated flower. So I hope you do at least. I remember the most vaporizers. I remember vaporizers in the beginning. You could you save the weed out of after it went through the vaporizer and eat it, and then you had decarboxylated, plant material, activated cannabinoids that might maintain or remain like a volcano. You can still do that with.
I was just about to say the only thing that reminds me of that is the volcano, because when you were out and you owned a volcano or had a friend in the house that had one and you were out, well, it wasn't res balls or anything. You went to go get the brown stuff and still has a little left on it. It was nasty, but you you work with what the guy. It's better than doing res balls. I haven't done those in forever. Scraping the bowl out until you got a nice little pile of tar.
I couldn't remember even tell you the last time I did something like that.
I think I was
a
like
long time ago.
2009. That's why I had a res ball at.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just remember my roommates. I was living in Milwaukee. Because I'm originally from Wisconsin, so I reference it a lot. I was living in Milwaukee, and my roommate sold, my other roommates smoked, I smoked, and we would go out sometimes. And I remember res balls. I remember scraping the bowls, scraping the bongs, whatever we could get a hold of. And but I remember then I was like, is this good for me? I'm at the point of taking weed in res form and black tar balls and smoking it just because I'm out until the next one. Is this? I didn't quite see the medicinal benefits yet until I stopped drinking. That's really when it changed for me. Because I was smoking and drinking, mostly drinking. So smoking was occasional because I didn't want to get the spinnies all the time because I'm always drinking, right? Because smoke before you drink. Don't do the other way around because you're gonna have a bad time. Pipe resin jello.
That's funny.
Well, congratulations on the alcohol free. I mean,
thank you. Yeah, it's been about 5.5 to 6 years.
Wow, good for you. Yeah, I made a decision last year that I wasn't spending any money on alcohol. If somebody else wants to buy a drink, I might have it. But all my money goes to weed. Like anything extra that I have gets spent on weed. You know, and me and my girlfriend, we both still have our medical cards from Michigan. You know, I do have a pretty decent caregiver that grows for me. I get really good product. It's better than anything you're going to get at the dispensaries. You know, I miss those. Prices are maintaining for the good growers in Michigan that actually have really good product. You know, they're still, you know, getting in 100, 125. I've heard some people up to $250, $300 still in the cities for some of the exotic strains and things. So, you know, it's like that market still maintains, even though Michigan is the cheapest market, I think, or second cheapest market in the state. You know, even with the 24% tax, you know, I can still walk into anywhere and get an ounce for $100, like, or cheaper if I want $40 outdoor ounces. Like, you know, I mean, it's pretty insane, and I have a high tolerance, so I still use a lot. You know, like I bought a 10-gram bucket of wax because my caregivers actually got raided about a month and a half ago. The Michigan Marijuana and Tobacco Enforcement Division showed up at their doorstep and raided them and emptied their warehouse. They walked the prosecutor through trying to show him that they were doing something illegal, but they weren't. They're completely within their numbers. They're in a position that I've told them that you should look at suing these assholes. You know, like if anyone is like, I was over my number, I was outside of my limit a little bit when I got raided. It was like in between those, like, am I still doing hemp? Like, it's just a lot of seedlings. I only had like 36 large plants that were in 15-gallon pots or bigger or buried in the, you know, like I had 12 in a cage that had always been like my personal cage. And then I had seedlings. But like, you know, my plant numbers, they try to use the cloners against you. And I was like, when did you take your clones? They're like, they were cut 3 days ago. So there were no roots. That is not a plant. That will never make it to court. So all you got is your standing plants underneath a light, and like, you're not over your numbers. Like, and they, you know, even in this raid, right? Even in this raid, they were still telling them to like get your license. The state's, caregiver program is over. They want and they're basically rating people to tell them to get a license and that they need to get into the licensed market. And a lot of these people are not getting charges, right? Michigan is still looking at a tax angle on some of these raids. Are people paying their taxes? My attorney reached out to me since we talked last because he beat a case out of Antrim County. He had the affidavit and search warrant thrown out in court on their raid and got all the felony charges dismissed.
That's awesome.
Like usual, the law enforcement always bends, breaks, goes outside of what they're supposed to obtain things to get into what they want to get into. And yeah, it'll be real surprising. And I feel like he has the ability and the mental capacity, that he would be able to maintain that. It's, if him and his brother are up for it. But like their only angle they had was trying to say that the patients that were helping to trim the cannabis weren't they weren't all patients of theirs, so they weren't supposed to be in the room. And I'm like, that's the closest angle they got. Like, that's it's not gonna hold up, but
we asked for help that day. Leave us.
Yeah, exactly. They were trimming a harvest. Like it all comes, the room comes down at once. They're in giant custom made, what would I call that? Aquaponics? I don't know. Each one is in its own bucket, right? Its own individual bucket. It's like the deep water culture, kind of. Yeah. I guess individual deep water buckets would be a better description. Sorry, it's been a minute since I've grown. It's sad though. I tell some of these people, like, my equipment's been off longer than you've ever grown. Like, I don't even want to hear about it.
I feel like that's where I'm at right now. I haven't grown since August of last year, but it's getting longer.
I did a round of clones outside last year, on the porch, just right at my house, right at the house that we were at in Iron River. Surprisingly, they finished over there. We had a decent summer last year. Now I'm another hour and a half north, and you really can't grow much of anything but industrial hemp up this far. MSU, Michigan State University, does have a research plot outside of Marquette in the UP Upper Peninsula here. So I want to reach out to them. I do want to reach out to the colleges more now that I'm up here to talk about, like the genetics and the laws and, kind of where things are going. All of the big colleges in the Upper Peninsula all have cannabis courses.
Wow.
Marquette University partnered with Green Flower out of California, and they have different online courses. They also have a cannabis chemistry course. They have cannabis chemistry at Lake Superior State University as well. I guess Michigan Tech doesn't have anything here in Houghton specifically.
I wonder how they determine what at the university, and would it just fall under the same as any other class and just get it costs this much to do this course because it's like going to a cooking class or something?
It's still based on credit hours, I believe.
Nice.
It depends on what kind of course or certification that you're going for. Some are certifications and some are actually like 4-year chemistry degrees in cannabis chemistry. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so anyone that's interested, there are some programs in Michigan to look into. You're starting to hear about it in other states now too. I love to hear that it's finally being talked about. It'll be really interesting to see what happens in the next 20 years. Like, we fought our butts off to get this past 20 years, and as far as it's come. And now you have, federal medical recognition since we've talked last. possible Schedule 3 across the board for medical cannabis, and research taking place and acknowledging medical cannabis laws within the states of Michigan on a federal level now. I actually reached out to, because the one news article was like, you're allowed to get a reimbursement on Medicare up to $500 a month for hemp products. And the way it was worded, it's not just CBD products. It's going to cover some THC hemp products or Delta products as well. They're pushing. So we probably won't see this federal hemp ban go anywhere. They're starting to, push and, more catchwords on, like this hemp ban is, going to come into play. But I really think that the administration is trying to do something. I mean, Trump has literally said, we're going to do something to make sure that this ban doesn't go in. Like, we're going to have an alternative to this. Now, whether that alternative is what we want, who knows, right? But progress is progress still, right? Yeah. And it's usually one step forward and two steps back in this industry. But those are some giant hurdles that we have just overcome. Yeah. And if any of it gets backed by Congress and not just an executive order, so the downfall with the executive orders is the next executive can write another executive order. Yeah. If Congress rolls this out and support, then it stays. It'll take a congressional overturn, which would be hard to happen once we get that. It's not going to go backwards. Even with CBD, it's really hard to go backwards from what we've already accomplished. You can't take these products away from people that know they work, and so, yeah, it'll be interesting.
We just need to endorse more doctors to sell our products.
Right. And it came up in an MLive article through MLive's like kind of one of the biggest news outlets out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, for the whole state of Michigan. And I was kind of mentioning it here and there. But under the Snyder administration, there was a law passed in the very beginning, early years. I want to say it was like maybe 2011, right? While we had the Republican Snyder administration, they pushed a law through that if federally rescheduling happened, that Canadian pharmacies would be able to sell cannabis to Michigan pharmacies, and patients would be able to get their weed through the pharmacy that was all supplied and tested by Canada program. And this law is on the books. So it'll be interesting to see, again, like, now you have 4 conflicting laws in Michigan regarding cannabis. None of them say the same thing. Wow. None of them all align. They're trying to put up bills right now, again, to restrict caregivers' rights, to cut 6 plants instead of 12 plants, and, the limits, and put felonies back into play if you're caught transferring to someone that's not one of your 5 patients. And, these things that is like, will always kind of stay covered because of the Section 8 medical necessity that I was able to establish with my clinic. But it's just that constant, like we said, like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And it just goes to show, like, as much as we think we've won or we have, or it looks like every day by the millions of dollars worth of cannabis sales that, Michigan's in a decent spot. But a lot of the big cultivators are pulling out because the profit margins are so low. We may sell more cannabis than any other state, but we have some of the absolute worst profit margins in the state as well.
Yeah.
I've been on the road doing some cannabis sales since I've finished my winter activities with the ski patrol. So I'm doing some of the, selling licensed product within the licensed market to licensed dispensaries. And, so it's like, even with that 24% tax, we're still walking out the door, like I said earlier, where you can get some really great pricing still. So the border towns are still cranking. You still have Illinois market drives to Michigan, right across, the border, Indiana, Ohio. Up north, we have Wisconsin and Minnesota. Minnesota even has its own medical program, and has dispensaries going on, but the pricing here in Michigan is just so much cheaper that you have states like Minnesota and Ohio have both talked about passing laws that if you get caught with out-of-state product, you're back into the misdemeanor or felony category based on the amount of product that you get caught with.
Well, how do they even determine what? Well, I mean, if you were to go to one dispensary and then sell it in your state, I get that, but like, what about genetics? Like these genetics are from Europe, or these genetics are from Australia, or these genetics are from Cali. Can I grow them here?
Oh, like genetics, yes, and I mean you can grow them there, but it's the purchasing, it's the interstate buying it and taking it across state lines. So they're trying to follow federal law still on how that plays out versus like honoring the state rights or state laws in those aspects.
I just want to learn how all that works because like my state doesn't have any products from this state. Everything's brought in. Most of the dispensaries here are owned by Massachusetts now, and none of the products is grown here either, except maybe one facility that does a couple of dispensaries. But the majority of their products are all brought in. They're from other states. They bring it in from that state, sell it in ours.
Are they state licensed?
I would assume because they're the only ones that are open.
Okay.
Yeah, like we only have like 7 dispensaries in the whole state.
Oh wow!
And
like,
you have
maybe a few more, but that's about it.
And the state next to you has a more established program.
No, actually, every state surrounding us is legal, if I'm not mistaken, except for D.C., Maryland.
Yeah, that's
like West Virginia's illegal, Pennsylvania's illegal, North Carolina's illegal. Who else touches Virginia?
Okay.
They're all illegal. We're the first southern state to go legal, technically, for the east side at least.
So I wonder, I believe, like Redemption, do you have Redemption products with True Leaf?
We had G-Leaf for a while, but they got bought out by the Massachusetts brand.
I'm trying to think of who I can remember that opened dispensaries in Virginia.
What they're called now is Zen Leaf. One of them's called Zen Leaf. That's near me. And it's not good. And it's oh my god, it's expensive. You're looking at $300 an ounce from a dispensary here, easily.
Wow.
And it's crazy because the way the hemp laws are, like you can just fucking ship weed anywhere now. It's just so I don't get why people go out and do that. But other than
the market here is a lot bigger and better, and I don't think unless Virginia ever changes their ways, which we will eventually. We're making progress, taking steps back and then moving forward. Like we got a governor that's pro cannabis now, but just vetoed the bill to go rec. But there was stuff in it that there was a lot of people that agreed that it should have been vetoed to work on a better one. And that's coming out in like a month or two. So it's like, all these people writing letters to our governor. Oh, you were supposed to be pro cannabis. I'm like, she still is. Just gotta wait to see what she can do or can't do.
Yeah.
Plus, we want to make sure it's written right because I don't even know what our state is referring to. Are they referring to Missouri, Michigan, D.C.? And that's another weird one. Is D.C. is like our capital, and it's more legal than anywhere else, but it's not federally legal there. But you can walk 2 blocks and go to a dispensary, walk another 2 blocks, you're at another dispensary.
I heard they were doing some crackdowns in DC too on the news over so it's
probably
because theirs was like a situation of like buying T-shirts and souvenirs and shit like to get.
Yeah, that was either last year or the year before. I think that was 2 years ago now. That it was a lot of stickers or T-shirts, but they put a ban out for that. If I'm not mistaken, you can't exchange anymore
Wow.
or buy a sticker and get a bag of weed.
Yeah. So Michigan, I mean, it's legal to gift cannabis. So
Yeah, you can gift it here. You can trade with any adult. You can grow up to 4 plants. You can't buy it unless you have a medical card. You can't sell it, period. You can't smoke it in public anywhere, including your front yard.
Can you do a cooperative that has lots of 4 plants stacked together?
Yeah, and we'll never have caregivers. I don't think they'll ever allow caregivers in this state.
So you need a storage unit. Everyone's got 4 monster fucking plants under 4.
Oh, when we first went legal, and they said 4 plants only. All the grow stores started opening up and popping up, right? Because now we're legal, and everybody was trying to sell 100-gallon pots, 100-gallon pots. 1 plant per pot.
You'll veg for 1 year.
Keep it indoors for the first year, put it outdoors the second year.
Yeah, and you grow what you can, you know, like you stretch it out, you make a bush, you grow long. Like, I mean, you can do a lot with a plant. So, I mean, we're joking about it, but these are all like actual options that can be done to grow whatever amount that you need to grow to supply for yourself, you know.
Well, Michigan has a lot of rules that allow you to, like, you can do extraction in Michigan, any kind of extraction, pressing, oils, oil, whatever. Here, that's like one of the first no-nos, no extraction. Well, I think we're allowed to do like CBD and the Levo oil machines. That's about as far as we get to go.
Rotovapes.
But pretty much, if you're looking to make good dabs and stuff, you ain't making it here unless you're making it at home, which is not legal.
And I want to say they did pass a bill to make it so you couldn't do it in a residential setting in Michigan anymore. But that's the only restriction under the medical program. License program, obviously, the C1D1 requirement with Michigan really made the big rosin flood, right? Like, real cheap for people to get into the rosin market and make a rosin facility. Hydrocarbon extraction, it took a lot more money, capital. But those that have done it and done it right can still sell. And people, I feel like the market's coming back, at least in Michigan, where like people aren't looking to buy CBD at the gas stations. They're actually they're asking more and more at the dispensaries, coming back to the dispensaries and asking for it, you know, which has been good. But yeah, the genetic cross, you touched on a minute ago, was like, we just had some awards ceremonies, the best in grass and the best in hash, and then there was another one that just happened, and it was like an interview with the first smoke of the day from another podcast that I've been on in the past. You know, they were talking about how Michigan just has so many unique standout genetics. Like, we're not into just copying and running what California is doing or what's the new hype. You know, New York's all hype. Like, they're going to just follow trends, you know, like they're not far enough progressed to be out there. Too many of them, like, making their own genetics. I feel like some not like Michigan. Michigan has really led the way. Like, when I look at some of the top breeders through like sites and gene traders and, you know, like websites and the old school ones that have been around for a long time, but some of the top ones now, like Affectionado Seeds, you know, a lot of these people have done a lot of work in Michigan. I have a Northern Cali breeder that I've worked with that's been in Michigan now, in Northern Michigan, for a number of years. He still puts out some really fire genetics. It's Emerald Mountain genetics. And, you know, like, these are people that I've worked with from like the beginning, and we had a company called New World Seeds. Chris had done breeding for a long time, and he helped me turn on my first grow in 2000, probably the end of 09 going into 10. I had a fallout with my caregiver that was my business partner. I was paying for everything, and he was growing some weed and not producing us for shit and wouldn't listen. We had some really good early Cali connection genetics. He wanted to get online and think he was a moderator and knew all this shit. And I'm like, you can't even produce us anything yet. So he worried more about the online hype than he did actually making us any damn medicine.
I know lots that have lost focus on the plant.
So it's like I've worked with a lot of early knowledge, and I came into this like I had never grown a plant, right? So I never was cocky about always willing to learn and absorb as much as I could. I did get cocky later on in the industry, but it was never about the genetics. It was more about who I chose to give my energy to as we've developed and built this industry. I probably should have followed up better, gave a few more people some opportunities, but it is what it is. And, my journey's been my journey.
Right.
There's some people that I just, didn't really care if I got to see them be successful within this space or not. And I ain't here to follow up with them. And I stepped over some contracts because of it. But, I've done it my way. And I can say that, like, I really have done it my way. And then getting into breeding, I think we touched on it a little bit with the CBD last time, but it was, I got the Ox, which was Rare Dankness's Ox.
Mm-hmm.
Rare Dankness had been in Michigan for a long time also, the early years, the fun years. Big Mike with Exotic Genetics.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Exotic out of Michigan?
Huh?
Is Mike out of Michigan?
No. But he definitely has spent a lot of time here and been here for a lot of the early cannabis cups and had a lot of some really good growers representing him in the High Times Cup here. So
nice.
So like we had all that come in.
It's hard to keep up with how many strains that man has, but everything I've grown from him has been pretty fire.
Yeah. I still have like Jake, Midnight Roots. He's done a lot of breeding. He's still in the licensed market. He's still winning cups from his own caregiver grow that he does at home besides what products he has in the licensed market. He's found a really unique way to blend the two together and still maintain in the industry, which has been great. So Rare Dankness's Ox went to Centennial Seed Research Company in Colorado. They back-crossed that to make Bay Ox. So that was the Ox back-cross, which was Rare Dankness's CBD medicinal strain. I got with Ryan Laughlin out of Colorado. He was the first permitted hemp farmer. And I was able to get a pound of seed. Really, I didn't need that much, but I bought a pound to do some breeding with. Planted probably a quarter of it, half of it maybe between. I sold a little bit of it to help a couple other people get started and be able to have some seeds to breed onto their own genetics as well. Definitely never been stingy in that area. And there's the whole like selling clones for fucking $1,000. Like I watch people do it. It's kind of crazy. Like I've always been like
for 5, and I'm like,
yeah. I mean,
my clone. How many clones do you sell? Jeez.
Right. My buddy was shipping out white truffle cuts for $1,500 a couple years ago. And it's like from his seed company, but it was the clone only cuts. And, he made a really good name for himself over the years. I remember when he first started out and was working at the grocery store, but...
I'll make everything legal and get into unrooted clones. They're not plants yet.
Yeah, I mean, and you can ship genetics. Genetics are going all over the country now. You got genetics that you can mail, genetic kits that you can put clones in with little lights in the packet, and cover them for shipping. I have shipped some genetics. I've also taken genetics to Colorado. Delivered them. Helped a company out there turn on a few years ago after I had won the Cannabis Cup in 2015 for CBD. I got to go back on a contract and get paid to be in Colorado for a week. And they even took me skiing for the weekend. And I didn't really want to go home, but so we crossed that though, the Bayox seeds. We put a lot of clones down the first year. All the clone strains that we had been working with throughout the years, the Star Tonic, the Cannatonic 4, of course, has been my baby. That originally came out of a seed pack of Cannatonic seeds from Spain. A lot of the Cannatonics online come up listed as a 1-to-1 ratio. We have a very unique, or had a very unique clone-only strain that was a 20-to-1 ratio. That was kind of, your sawed-at ratio of like, I could keep it under 1% even in an indoor medical grow and still maintain, I could keep it under 0.5% and have like a 13 to 16% testing CBD strains. So we could go as high as 30-to-1 and sometimes. Then we had the Perkins Cannatonic, came from another seed, came up very different profile, just kind of showing the variation of the early genetics, and how much variation you could get from just one pack of Cannatonic seeds that came out of Spain. I've heard of a number of different. I've heard of a 7, an 11, a 4 Cannatonic X, the Perkins Cannatonic, and then I was able to get some clones of some CBG strains. I was really searching after CBG genetics. I had an infant that was born with peristalsis of the intestines out of Pennsylvania. And I knew her dad through a hemp company that is over there. Hemp, like they do hemp pretzels. It's hempsels. He's done like hemp foods for a long time. So I've met him early on in the hemp shows, only other booth ever doing anything with hemp besides myself. And then some of the early years, and he was driving a long ways to come to Michigan. So I always bought stuff off of him before he left and helped support it and took food home and spread the word. But so we were able to get some CBG strains. Some of them actually came out of Virginia. It was I met him at the Southern Kentucky Hemp Expo. When I went down to get seeds from Ryan Laughlin, I met him down there at the expo also because he was going to be over there speaking, and I wanted to get him in person instead of just having him sent through the mail. And ask questions, really kind of have some time to talk about him, not just get something, what they've been able to do with their back crossing, how much stability they've gathered. It did take away a little bit of my flavor for my Cannatonic, even though I back crossed 3 times on the clones. So it's there. It definitely still has a very similar smell. With that back crossing, we were able to really stabilize the seed stock. So what we grew last year to pick new clones from for this season, I was able to pick from a variety of plants, but to see them all grow very, very consistently. And I got a friend that I'm growing with on their farm. He grew in Alaska when Alaska was in the early days. And he still plays with a lot of different genetics, right? He's probably worse than I ever was, right? As far as like genetic hunting. So it's and he's doing a lot of different hemp strains. That's Lakeland hemp. If any of you guys want to check them out on Instagram, Lakeland hemp. Beautiful farm sits between Elk Lake and Lake Michigan, just north of Traverse City, and long multi-generation family farm. They sell real CBD flower, right? It's like, it's not the THCA. It's not like they sell 20 different varieties of CBD flower. And he really does his research of digging into these genetics, playing with them, figuring out which ones work, which ones, you know. And I was really happy that he was happy with my genetics, right? Like
This is Lakeland hemp. Lakeland hemp.
Yep, Lakeland Grow is my canatonic for me to keep my patients up with some current flower. Extracts last a long time, right? I'm still working with extracts that I made in 2020, 21, right? Like before I got raided. Luckily, when I got raided, they didn't take all my oil. They killed the crop. I convinced them that I actually got excited. I was really mad for a minute because they were going to burn everything in my shipping container. And I said, actually, you know what? Go ahead. Burn it all. I won't have to pay to store it. And I'm going to sue you for every pound of it. Mm-hmm. Right? Because I had a license from the feds to grow hemp and the state of Michigan. Right? Like, so I was like, no, you know what? Go ahead. And when they saw that like real change in me, they were like, oh, maybe we better reconsider this. Like, and I got them to leave everything that was from previous season's crops. Yeah. Right? And that's maintained me throughout these years where I've really just needed some fresh flower. And I do need to make some extracts. I've had to have a few rounds of straight CBD oil made from my material, but I still have, I even have pounds put up of CBD flower from back then that are just going to go into extracts now, because now we have fresh flower. And I was selling flower 22, 23. I guess it would have been still 24 and 25. End of 25, we had a new crop. So beginning of 2025, I was probably still selling CBD flower from 2020. And I would still get compliments on having the best CBD flower like that people could find online. Right. And I'm like, man, this is just like, to me, and I would just pack bags full when people would place orders too. Like, you'd order a half ounce, I'd send you like 21 grams or something, like whatever. Like, yeah, just fill the bag, because it was like, we got it. Like, I got it to give. It's just going to go bad. Like, I'd rather people enjoy it and, get to use it and mix it in. And, so my website, my personal website for Great Lakes Hemp that you pulled up a second ago, the processing is down, but I still process orders over the phone. It's more of my fight with the state of Michigan. They want to know that I'm not actively selling CBD while I'm trying to do an appeal. But when they came up with that $500 reimbursement on Medicare that Trump said a month ago with CBD products and hemp products, I called the Attorney General, or I emailed her, I guess I should say. I would rather have called her, but the Assistant Attorney General that I've been working with, and I said, look, you guys are now truly standing in the way of me pursuing my career in a legitimate industry that is now I can get reimbursement from Medicare. And it's medically Schedule 3. Like, you are in the way of me having a career and a future and everything that I've put my last, my entire life into becoming. And I said, how long are we going to wait for the CRA, the Cannabis Regulatory Agency, to give a response, right? So we've been waiting on them to respond to them and then my request for a hearing. They haven't issued a response, so she said she would schedule a hearing, and I was like, how long are we going to wait for a hearing? And I still haven't been scheduled for a hearing, but I've at least had a little bit of communication. I've been nudging them like, hey, we got to get this resolved. The rules say we have 1 year to do this appeal. We are going on year 3, and I still have not had my day in court to appeal their decision that the law states that I am entitled to.
Right.
So it's amazing that they can just disregard any law that they don't want to deal with. I found the CD the other day from my attorney that has like all the body cam footage and everything on from my raid. And I was really glad I found that. But I recorded a section from when I was being interrogated during my raid when I was sitting in the state police car. And they referred to the Medical Marijuana Act as a draconian act that would be compared to laws on the books such as sodomy being illegal. And I'm like, how are you going to compare a law that came on the books in 2008 to laws of sodomy from the 19th century?
Wow.
Right? Like, that doesn't even equate to me.
No.
There's no comparison, right? And I've wanted to like put that on there up on social media of like, these are the lead detectives and these are how they feel about the laws that we made and passed as citizens.
Yeah.
Right. But I also haven't wanted to rock the boat anymore when I'm still trying to get an appeal, but one day I think it'll all come out once I realize that I don't have to worry about them anymore. Maybe. I don't know if there'll ever be that point, but I hope, so it just sucks that it still goes on. There's still raids happening in Michigan. We changed asset forfeiture laws in Michigan. We've changed, the laws in every aspect that we've been able to, in Michigan, and we've made a lot of ground. But again, it's still a fight to this day because they're still always introducing new bills, trying to change a program, change some wording. We're fighting hemp, we're fighting CBD. Like they're trying to make the rules from the CRA in Michigan, the Cannabis Regulatory Agency, are trying to put a limit of 0.175 milligrams of THC in a total package. So all full spectrum CBD products would become illegal in Michigan.
Wow.
You will only be able to sell CBD isolate, which completely eliminates everything we've done for the last 15 years. And is 10 times less effective than an RSO and 20 times less effective than a FICO oil. So it's, and it's all to quiet the shareholders in the actual licensed cannabis industry. And that's something that's been really tough for me because I have a lot of friends in the licensed cannabis industry. I sell product in the licensed cannabis industry, right? But the licensed cannabis industry is paying to have caregivers rated in Michigan. It is being portrayed that the licensed cannabis industry, the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association, has been paying a lobbyist to introduce these new bills to restrict caregiver laws. When all of these people came from the caregiver market or their new suits that never had any place here to begin with. And so it's tough because like any support of the licensed market kind of, does it support the raids if you support the licensed market? Like that's for me is kind of where I've been at. Like either I need to switch back to only buying from caregivers and not shopping at licensed dispensaries is where I'm leaning to. But there's also the convenience, and sometimes I only have enough money to buy weed for today, and I got to buy weed again tomorrow. Between me and my girl, we smoke at least a half ounce to an ounce a day. And luckily, it's cheap in Michigan. But again, I really miss being able to grow my own genetics. I have to find land in the next couple of years and get back to it. The medical marijuana law in Michigan isn't going anywhere. They may change the plant count, but at the end of the day, the medical cannabis law is more established and more rooted than any of the other laws because it has tried more cases in court. So we have more documented case law established through the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court fighting the medical marijuana law. So there's more set in stone that these rights are here. And again, that's one of the things that was really significant for me was that case law, right? Like I used to say that I had to do something every year to stay relevant in Michigan. You know, that cannabis industry is fast, it's changing, it's ever changing, it's quickly evolving, right? So I was like, you got to do something every year to stay relevant, to stay in front of people, to want to be sought after, to speak at shows and doing the events and things. And I haven't done too many shows by any means yet. Kind of still like waiting on the appeal process and feeling like I'm kind of stuck on that until I can get that license back, and then I can feel like I can approach new customers.
Yeah.
Even though hemp licenses aren't really required, but because of how much I've built in the industry, I want to have those things and do it properly, right? And it was part of like when I got sentenced under the judge, it was like, well, follow the rules of the program. And it's like they're trying to use that I'm not following the rules of the program against me to deny me my hemp license. And it's like, well, if you don't honor the rules and you don't honor the law, like how do you expect me to, like, we got to do what we got to do to operate within this space sometimes, you know? Like they're going to do what they got to do and we got to do what we got to do.
Right.
It is what it is. Like it's always been that way.
We're here right now.
Yeah, it's always going to be that way. And I get called all the time. Like I'll say my online following necessarily isn't like the greatest. Yes, I'm maxed out on Facebook. Follow me if you can't friend request me, guys, please. For some reason, Facebook tends to cycle through and I'll have 10 spaces open and I can go through and kind of select, you know, like the next 10 people to come onto the page. Nice thing about Instagram, it allows you to have a little bit more, but I think my following is worse on Instagram just because Facebook was where it kind of all started and stayed for a lot of the early years for groups.
I know how that goes. You
know, and
go
education.
on one platform and you move. You can die real quick.
Yeah, you can lose a lot of, you know, so it doesn't always equate from one platform to the next, or what's following you on one platform isn't the same group that's following you on another platform.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a lot of crossover, but you know, I make money. I can make money on Facebook. Like, you know, Instagram gets a little harder. They're a little farther apart. They're a little more spread out, but you know, I still do. I still have my patients that reach out to me. I still ship CBD products. I have some customers or patients that have been with me for, you know, 12 to 15 years, pretty much from the beginning, you know. So that just, you know, goes to show that in the mix of all of these dispensaries and everything that people have options for, we really do something unique when it comes down to needing CBD medicine, minor cannabinoid medicines, CBG for something specific, CBN for sleep. You know, like that is the area that I really focus on. I have a lot of licensed companies that will still call me for, you know, RSO or fecal oil. I don't make RSO, but we do a fecal oil. So we do a hydrocarbon extraction that is activated and put into syringes. Then we can maintain like 90% oils, maintain the terpene profile that has a lot of your medicinal values versus, you know, distillate or isolates that lose all of those medicinal values, right? So where we can't talk about CBD having all these wonderful properties medicinally, like you can make claims based on the FDA approved research of terpenes.
Yeah.
You know, so that, and then who does CBD FICO or who does CBD RSO, right? Like somebody generally asks for an RSO, they're going to get a straight THC RSO. Yeah. If anyone knew that this is diagnosed with cancer and not a regular cannabis user can't consume that those ratios or even a grain of rice, as recommended, you know.
I still can't.
Right?
I'm an everyday heavy user, and I still, you give me some RSO that's good, I'm done.
It's gonna lay me out, yeah.
You want to see me have a great day? And
I'll see you guys in 18 hours.
But for somebody that's not experienced to it, can have some really bad experiences. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen people get completely turned off from cannabis and never touch it again because of a bad experience. And these are cancer patients that died 3 to 6 months later because of one bad experience when we had an opportunity to do better.
Yeah.
And that's, that's where I still specialize in different ratios, where we can go from the straight CBD to a 2-to-1, to a 1-to-1, to a 3-to-1. I got a 6-to-1 ratio that I did for a lady last month. It's just building up their tolerance to getting them the pain relief that they need. And when we're talking opiate replacement treatments is what a lot of them patients are dealing with, right? Is trying to supplement that opiate use, the high pain tolerance. What is it, like 90% of the population suffers from chronic pain, which is inflammation, and CBD is the best anti-inflammatory in the market that's available. So just getting in a regular regimen of CBD, adding it into what you're already consuming with your regular cannabis. Even if you can only access CBD isolate and it's really cheap and cost effective, if you're consuming full spectrum cannabis, regular cannabis already on a regular basis, CBD isolate is still going to benefit you because you have all of the other cannabinoids and terpenes and things in your body. Mm-hmm. If you were just trying to use CBD isolate alone, I wouldn't suggest it. Get a full spectrum product, but the kind of gone all over with the genetics aspect. I keep trying to filter back to it. I guess when I remember switching from, we were talking about CBG genetics, and those I've actually had some people reach out to. I think that might have been how you found me, Vixen, this year, was talking about the CBG. And I had, I haven't promoted them. In the last couple of years, even, I haven't promoted them, but I'm established enough within the industry that, when it comes up, even, from Detroit, which is about as far away as you can get from me, I'm still the one that gets the call for the CBD genetics, right? Yeah. So it's nice. And even though I haven't really had clones this year, I didn't buy any or do any with the farm. He did save them. He is growing more for me down there at Lakeland Hemp, but I didn't pull any to sell this year, which I should have. So we sold some seeds, and I have a number of people that bought CBD or CBG genetics this year. And that's something that I really look forward to being able to do more research on in the future. Yeah. Also the Perkins, the breeding with the Perkins cannatonic. When you talk about uses of a crop and how fast you can go to harvest and these things, they kind of talk in the hemp industry. If you can get a dual crop, like two purposes out of a crop. So say you can grow flower and fiber, or flower and seed. You can grow, right? The fiber comes into how close they're planted together, right? Okay. That's where we're getting fiber. That's what the biggest things we're seeing is the hemp building homes, right? A lot of the hemp building homes, that's catching way. The hemp herd that comes from that comes from hemp fiber. Animal bedding is the hemp fiber. Clothing is the outer fiber separated from the inner bast of the plant, right? The herd is considered the bast of the plant. And we talk about trying to get more than one use out of a crop. And I really believe that I was able to do something really unique with the Perkins, because the Perkins was a tall, long, lengthy, fibrous plant already, but ran 20% CBD compared to our cannatonic that ran 14 to you know, 16 at best. Or we could get 20% every time with the Perkins canopy. But it was one of the hardest plants to clone. I'm going to throw some Shannon from Light Sky Farms, right? A world-renowned decorated grower, you know, from Northern Cali to Michigan to, right? He's an award-winning winemaker. He has got wine strains like named after him, shit, right? This guy can grow anything. He killed the Perkins Cannatonic 3 different times, and it's like, okay, you can grow. Right? Yeah. It's like that kind of a problem. But when I crossed it with the Bayox that already kind of leaned it was high CBD, but leaned to that sativa dominant structure where we could pull more, you know, more fiber out of it. So I think I created something there that I might actually be able to get a tri-crop out of, because we can openly pollinate it and get fresh seeds. You can still pull any flower material off the tops. And if you plant it close together, it already tends to grow long and lengthy as it is. So I did a test grow of that when I was breeding it, of planting them very close together, and was able to get the tall, skinny, no bottom branches, like what you look at for the fibrous crops. So, you know, it's just being able to promote these one day when I can get my license back and feel like I'm not fighting with the state of Michigan. And
Right.
I did send Eric some CBG seeds this year. I'm hoping he plays with some of the CBG seeds down there at Lakeland Hemp.
Nice.
Because I would love to find like a CBD hybrid that comes out of my genetics. That I don't know if it's possible. You know, genetics are kind of wild. We used to say every CBD seed was going to have a different ratio, right? Like in the early years, like you weren't going to get a consistent ratio on every seed, right? We saw it with the cannatonic. That's what we were, you know, that was what we had done most of our research with. So we see that every one of these seeds would come up with different ratios. And like when the friend of mine discovered the Star Tonic, and then I worked with that for a long time. And actually took 5th place in Denver that year with the CBD flower for the Star Tonic. It was the first time I'd ever grown it. And it's like, we're going out there and might as well enter some flower too. And
Right.
you know, it was 5th for the first time ever. Like, it wasn't too bad, you know, and still walked away with the 3rd for the CBD cherry drops. So
Nice.
but yeah, it's just a lot of breeding, you know, and then in those processes, I've always promoted the 1-to-1 genetics. And if you're looking for things in the, like, sativas don't exist anymore in the licensed market, right? Because no cultivator wants to spend 12 to 14 weeks trying to produce a sativa when they can get that room turned over in 8 weeks and re-harvest.
And call it sativa dominant.
And call it sativa dominant, right? And there are some sativa dominant strains. There are. But like a true sativas are very, very hard to find in the licensed market. Banana Conda, and it's like a 60-40, or, you know, like the Trop Cherry is 60-40. Like 60-40, I feel like is like your best. If you can get a 70-30, then you're actually truly got like some sativa characteristics in the strains, but they're hard to come by. Where I've bred with original Thai landrace strains my last year, that I actually got to harvest, so it would have been 21. I had seeds from Thailand. I've got seeds from Mexico that are landrace genetics. You know, I've got pre-98 greenhouse seeds. We've got Sensi seeds. We've got New World seeds. We've got, you know, I've got a hell of a seed bank. I have an upright freezer that's completely full of seeds.
Oh, wow.
And then I have 2 totes that are completely full. Actually, more than that. I have over 100 pounds of just high CBD seeds. Wow. And like not counting the freezers. Those are just... And we still pulled like a 60 to 70% female ratio, you know, so we see a little bit of degradation in that male to female ratio as the seeds get older and older. You know, so but it's knowing that you have those genetics that, if properly maintained, that you can pretty much always hunt out what you wanted,
Yeah.
and they're still viable enough to sell. Like, I'm waiting for the hemp market to come back around. Feel like it will. Where did it go? Did I just lose you?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, now it did.
I'll be
Oh
back.
no. Yeah. Well, basketball. I appreciate everybody still tuning in, listening in, and learning. Here he is. We are back.
Hit the wrong button.
Hello.
My battery's getting low. I might have to go inside in a minute. Plug it in while we finish
Yeah.
up. But yeah, sorry, that threw me off. But yeah, tons of genetics. And then in the middle of breeding all that CBD all those years, I always pushed the 1-to-1 strains as a sativa supplement, right? Like, because what you're looking for in a sativa is more likely to be found in a 1-to-1 strain.
Yeah.
Okay, of the CBD to THC mix. Or you have these older people that are like, I don't want to get that high.
Yeah.
Like, these two percentages are too strong for me. I want, I have test results in the early years of Super Silver Haze only being like a 12 to 14% strain, right? And that strain was used in many strain developments or genetic developments throughout the years. The Silver Haze and the Super Silver Haze. And those are still sought after heavily on the East Coast nowadays, right? You'll still hear like the Piff. The Piff is a haze. It is a haze strain that still leans sativa dominant in most cases. I have an artist that I work with called Rudy Williams. We actually did a 2-album collaboration and a hoodie with Piff out in New York, and we pressed the vinyl for one of his albums. And those are, it's just really, it's in this industry, it's about experience. It's still, even on the sales, you're selling because you're selling to people based on your experiences, what you know of the industry, the knowledge of the industry and the products, and and it's never been about any money. Like I said, I don't even promote my CBD products barely. I barely promote my own genetics. It's just people know to reach out to me because it's what I've done for the last 15 years, So yeah, that's my angle. Like, I kind of like the hidden gem. I feel like in a lot of days, I've always said, even in the early years, like, I never wanted to be famous. I wanted it to be infamous. Like, I don't want to be unable to walk down the street.
Yeah.
But when I walked down the street in Vegas during MJ BizCon with a store manager from Colorado, he's like, how does everyone know who you are? Like, I was like, Michigan is one of the biggest markets in the country. Everyone came to Michigan to learn. The first smoke of the day, when he was doing that interview from his podcast, I was mentioning earlier, about the genetics and Michigan really having their own genetics and, the things that stand out here, and that we have the best weed. Like, I've heard it out of Burner's mouth, like California, excuse me. They'll, I don't know. There's just something about Michigan and the way our laws played out and the number of caregivers that we were able to produce. California paved the way. They taught some great California growers came back to Michigan in the early years. People that had moved out there to get involved in the industry. But Michigan really stands out, and it's just always been awesome that in that market that stands out in the country, that I'm someone that still stands out for my genetics. And it's my own lane. It's not something I've had to fight or compete with everyone else about. In some degree, I guess, because everyone started thinking they could make a CBD product, and it's like, really, guys, you want to, But that's just how it went, and it's education. It's teaching people the difference in CBD products. Not all CBD is created equally. Big differences in products there, big difference in genetics. So, even our sales, selling to other licensed manufacturers, we sell a lot of minor cannabinoids. I do still broker a lot of minor cannabinoids, and those things, they come off of, our experience, my experience and my knowledge within the space. And then over all these years, like, I've been able to maintain that trust with our customers that when they buy a liter of THCA, it's not going to be half converted and activated when they get it. Like, you throw that shit in a hot car or forget about it in the car for a night, you're going to come back to a completely different product.
Right.
And it's crazy, but like, I've seen these things happen because anyone thinks they can get involved in the industry and think they can get in, and then they like don't understand some of the basic chemistry involved in it. It's like, it can be mind blowing, but genetics, cultivation. I mean, we've done it. I've been on a cultivation team for Organobliss. My 2 cultivation partners for that grow team, that was the team I went to Denver with that year in 2015. When we went to Denver that year in 2015, the Leaf Doctor had the cover of High Times for the world's strongest strain. And he is the most decorated cannabis cultivator in the country, I believe. I think he has more awards than anyone else in the country now. It's just pretty wild. And then I have Doc Deadhead, very close friend of mine. He was actually living with me when we got raided. Older man. He's got some health issues he's been dealing with for the last like 8 months or so. Leukemia. And so that's been difficult. I was helping him a little bit last year with his outdoor plants, and then we eventually had to kill him because he was in the hospital too long.
Yeah.
But he had 18 different High Times cannabis cups.
Right.
So it's, again, Light Sky Farms, I don't even know how many. He sold his company off to the licensed market, and they still promote all of his awards, as a company. That's still a licensed company in Michigan. The roller coasters, the ups and downs, the ins and outs of all of that. Like, he's someone that had come to me before I got raided, and he's like, just keep doing what you're doing. He's like, forget the licensed market. He's like, it's just ups and downs. No one holds their promises. No one holds their contract. The licensed cannabis market is tough. Like, we need to maintain the culture of cannabis and the individualism of cannabis, right? The knowing where your plants are coming from, knowing your caregiver, getting more home grow laws established. I also saw something today on the news that looks like they did an executive order to end the federal prohibition of psychedelic medicines.
Really?
Yeah. I was just looking at some of that before we signed on tonight. So I was like, man, is this for real? Like, but I saw Joe Rogan in the background, and there was another guy that has led, I want to say, some of the movement from either Oregon and Colorado that was like speaking. And they were like, at Trump's desk, like in the office. So it was a quick news article that I saw come up. So I got to look into it a little bit more, but it's just crazy that I knew psychedelics would come on a faster pace than what we saw cannabis, right? Because there's been more research throughout from the government. Like, the government has researched psychedelic. They developed LSD, right? Like, that was our federal government. Thank you. Think they were using it for interrogations or something. I've enjoyed it, so they can have. I don't care. But it's more controlled than, it's more of a chemical process. It is lab created versus mushrooms, but it's more consistent.
Yeah.
I find it to be. For me. So I have stomach problems also, and the mushrooms just can be really, really toxic to my stomach. So acid is bad, right? So it's really cool to see where these things are going to go. You've had a lot of the veteran studies going, veterans for cannabis, veterans for the PTSD. The psychedelics have gone on with the veteran studies, and they've really been able to lead the way and make some progress for that movement. And rightfully so. Like, I use it in conjunction with my counseling, right? Like, I've been in therapy since I got raided. Well, no, it was before I got raided. I was put in therapy before that because I had caught an assault charge that I was on bond for, which I beat in a self-defense. But that's when it started. So, but I talked to my counselor about the changes and the feel and the effects of after a dose, and that you can tell when if you've gone more than 6 months or a year without a dose, like, I can significantly tell the difference. Like, I need that reset every 6 months, every year, that reminder that, not to take life too seriously and to enjoy today and to enjoy the moments. And, we're not promised tomorrow, and that we're all connected. I'm really big on energy and the sharing of energy and how I use my energy, the power of creation, that we can do these things. It is scriptural that Jesus left from the tent of meetings when he went up with the Holy Ghost, that he left the power to do the works that he did and even works greater than him. And I think sometimes people forget that. And for me, that the cannabis plant is the best demonstration of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's used throughout the Bible, biblical aspects, and he used holy anointing oil in a lot of his work, which had calamus or cannabis as part of the process there. And that was actually the first product I ever made, and it's still one of my top selling products for me now, is the topical massage oil. So we do the CBD full spectrum massage oil, and then we do a 1-to-1 massage oil, 1,000 milligram, 1 ounce bottle. You don't need very much of it. And it is still like the number one selling product for me, for my company. So,
Nice.
Yeah. So, sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine.
So I'm really good at talking, I guess. I always killed another hour, 20 minutes.
No, I appreciate it. You're
buddy.
with information. So.
I was just wondering what part should I start sharing your socials again. I like it. No, you're full of tons of great information and stuff, and you know your stuff, and you're rooting for the right teams.
Yeah, this industry is very important to me. I'm a patient first. I'm always going to be a patient first. Medical cannabis at the age of 15, and it's been everything since. Right? It's been everything up and down and all around. Like, my dad was a preacher. I traveled as a youth evangelist after 2 jail stays for cannabis. Right? Like, I went to church camp every summer, right? All the way through high school. I didn't play football in high school because of church camp, right? Like, I wasn't missing church camp. And for me, finding this plant and finding scripture that backed it and supported it was like mind-blowing to me, that the church didn't accept this.
Yeah.
Right? So at like 17 years old, when I got kicked out of high school, it was like, you make me put my hand on this Bible in court, but none of you believe the words that are in it if we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
And I don't really preach anymore by any means. Cannabis has been my ministry, because at the end of the day, the conversation leads back to sacred geometry and pointing to God, our creator.
Yeah.
However you want to call that, right? I don't get caught up in names other than God. And many religions have different names for different, But I don't get caught up in that aspect in the like religious debates anymore. Like, it's just slowly, like one at a time, just pointing people back to. And I always enjoyed being able to sit down with church folks, like to go through lie after lie after lie of government exposure of what we're trying to get back from, like work our way back toward the natural medicine and everything that we, how this was in our natural pharmacopoeia up until the development of the Food and Drug Administration.
Yeah.
Right. This was part of every medicine cabinet until that point.
Yeah.
Even after they outlawed cannabis, even after they outlawed hemp, they brought hemp back for World War II and made everyone grow it again. And then put out a marijuana tax ban and made, the reefer madness and everything that we have came out with, to change the minds of America after demanding that they grow this crop for the war efforts. Now are going to convince you that it's going to cause these African American men to rape your white women because they smoked cannabis. And this is the propaganda that we continue to still deal with. Like, it's, when, again, it's just a plant, it's all connected. Some of the recent conversations that we had on hemp was we have a farm. We have some of the building efforts going on in Michigan. We're doing some work with the tribe to build a couple hemp homes. Work with Minnesota, a group out of Minnesota tribe that's doing some hemp homes up there. They were just on an event with us. But we're also doing the big conversation right now is the PFAS and the forever chemicals. And we have a farm in Lower Michigan that has, is doing research on the amount, quantities of PFAS that we are able to absorb out of the soil as well with the hemp plant. Just like other contaminants, all the way down to, the nuclear cleanup that they had in overseas after the bomb.
Yeah.
I'm not getting the right word that I want. I'm only thinking of Hiroshima, and I know that's not the word I want. It was the other one that was in Ukraine.
Chernobyl?
Yeah, there we go. I grew that once too. Oh. So it's just the diversity of uses for this plant, is why, like, part of me wants to like reach out to Pfizer because it's a Michigan company and just see if they had any interest in my knowledge or my genetics, because as a certified medical assistant, somebody that like really believes in the medicinal values of this plant, I would like to be part of that research going forward, right? Like that would be a lot of fun. Or I go to the colleges and I just start getting involved in health and teach or something, some of these courses. But
both good options.
Yeah. Something I'm trying to consider, like what to do now that I'm getting older. And I don't want to break my back growing large amounts. Like I want my own personal garden again, but taking care of acres upon acres upon acres is not something I necessarily want to do again. Now that machinery and the development of the industry has come so far that, I feel like, use your energy where it's best spent, still trying to decide what that is going forward. I'm not sure. I like the cannabis sales and it's definitely fun and it keeps me on the road selling my own product, at least talking about it. But until I can get this stuff cleared up with the state, I don't really feel like I can sell my product other than my customers that I've really always had, or like the one-on-one calls. Like I don't want to necessarily throw it in 10 new dispensaries that the CRA is going to see and then be like, yeah, you're not supposed to be selling product. Where individual phone calls is different. They're my people as they come in. It's from my following. So, any of you guys that are on or catch this, do you guys save them on your YouTube channel? These to go back to
Oh yeah.
the,
Yep,
the
they're on.
recording?
Yeah.
Buddy.
Good.
Yep.
Yay! So that way the
There's
CRA
things in
got
the
more.
StreamYard.
So they got more stuff to use against me. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me know if you need it deleted. I can archive it for a little while. Just
No.
until you're cleared, and then we'll bring it back.
And we still got it in StreamYard too.
It's kind of funny though, because they had used podcasts against me, and it was part of the denial. It was like, you said on iHemp Michigan that you weren't gonna quit selling CBD products or something like that. It's like in my official denial of like reasons they denied me for, right? I was like, oh my goodness, you guys, like you just rated me. I was hot.
I was just promoting it. I wasn't actually doing it.
You're like, yeah, I didn't say a whole lot more. So, yeah.
Thank you for those in the chat for the support tonight. We had a good list, a lot of listeners tonight versus chatters, but you're just easy to listen to, man.
Thank you. And you know, I do get that. I love to talk. I love to educate. Luckily, I have a deep voice, so it's easier to listen to. And I forget that these comments are on there, so I'm scrolling over to that for a minute while we're chatting. I'm like, yeah, this is good.
Make sure they're following or checking out your Instagram.
Yes, definitely.
Join the chat.
Yeah, Micheal Thue, and then you have Great Lakes Hemp.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Great Lakes Hemp Supplements has been my brand for all these years. The 2 E's is a play on my last name, so it's Micheal Thue. I pronounce 2E so that's why I did the new company, and I'm waiting for my license to come back so I can launch the new website. So I've just been taking the time to work on rebranding things. More bold logos, things that stand out a little bit better. The red to match with the cherry products better. And
I know a great graphic designer.
Yeah, me too. But
You want some bullshit AI? I got the bullshit AI if you need that, buddy. You want a real graphic designer? She's right here.
who's that? Which one are you? You do it?
Yeah, she's
Okay.
a graphic designer.
Since I was about 19, so a couple
That's
of
what you do?
decades, a few decades maybe, if I admit
Yeah,
it.
I mean that's your main gig at your job, isn't it? You know, all the graphics, and
Yeah, I do that.
advertising, marketing, all that.
Yeah.
Good for you. It's a difficult lane, and I feel like
Difficult. You should have seen 2 hours when she was tutoring me how to use Illustrator. Holy fuck.
Illustrator too, yeah.
Oh, Photoshop. I'm still kind of lost on some of that, but I'm getting better at Illustrator, which seems to be more important.
I won't make anything outside of a Word document, but I did pay for the full Adobe Office, so that way I could at least edit dates, right? So I'd have flyers and stuff made, and then I could just go in and edit the date and and resave it. That was about the extent of my work there. But I got lucky when we opened Verts. A friend of mine that their son applied, their oldest son. He had graduated for graphic design and had gone to school for it. And, so I hired him in, and he was one of my managers. He became my store manager. And he still stays on with Verts and does all the graphics now for Colorado and Missouri stores.
Nice.
So even though we don't have a Verts in Traverse City anymore, Colin still has maintained the job of doing the graphics for the other stores now, which is great.
Nice.
I tried to get them to let him do that while I was there, and it's at least they let him do it after I left. They finally listened. Yeah. But yeah, Vert's neighborhood cannabis retailers, Vert's neighborhood cannabis dispensaries, especially you guys out there in Missouri. Yeah, we do got the Joplin store.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was caught that on the news the other day. We got like 4 corners. There's one outside of KC.
Yeah.
I can't remember where the other ones are off the top of my head, but yeah, there's a few of those inverts. It's a great family-owned company. I will always support them. They've always been good to me. You know, it didn't work out for us in the long haul in Traverse, but Traverse has got like 20 dispensaries and it's highly saturated, and we aren't the only ones that closed that was downtown. So cost of rent downtown Traverse kind of had its impact on these businesses. Everyone thought they were gold mines and the landlords could jack the rents up and you know kind of get into some positions where I think I can pull that off, you know, and then it starts getting a little difficult in this market that doesn't have huge margins. And on a dispensary aspect, it's probably been the worst hardest business to run within this market, you know, this industry. Because of being the front person, being out there, being out front, you know, and then the taxes, like biggest thing is like, so hopefully with this medical transformation, we'll start seeing some relief with 280E in the tax structure for some of these shops, and it'll help these family-owned businesses that are out there trying to compete against these huge conglomerate, you know, investor dollars, you know, try to have a better fighting chance with some of this tax relief that's coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyone that's following along, if you help support a family-owned group or some of the other options you might have in the state.
Do it now.
Right. And then you still have that Missouri market. I still hear of the friends having those events down there that are a little on the black market side.
Yeah,
they might call
they're
it.
out there.
Still, I've heard I need to come down. You know? Yeah, I know the Dad Star boys, Nick and Jonah.
Yeah.
Spent some time with them.
Yeah.
Spent some stage time with them in Michigan and out in Vegas. Done enough things with them, so they won't. I could never get them and Verts to do anything together because of the differences in markets down there. So it was like, but you know, this culture is going to be supported by the longevity of guys that can still pull off events like that, right? And we still had we had Gems and Genetics this last weekend in Michigan. You know, I didn't go down for it, but I've spoken at it in the past. At the end of the summer, we have Summer's End Smokeout, and they do a 4-day music festival. That's a licensed cannabis event. Dunegrass, or Dunesville Music Festival has done licensed cannabis consumption areas with it. Like, you know, so it's starting to see that elevate, movement, Detroit movement. You know, they do a lot with Jars, does a lot with Detroit movement.
Nice.
You know, so just really seeing some of these people trying to keep the culture going, you know, even in the licensed market, you know, through those kind of events, you know, is good to see. But it's the smaller guys that do those, I feel like are gonna maintain the old school stuff that we're gonna lose in the next decade, you know, or the next generation as things change.
Fingers crossed we don't, but or they just legalize it and then anybody can grow that wants to grow, and you know.
If we could get that kind of a freedom, obviously, I think that's the end goal. Like we've always talked about in Michigan, it should be grown like a tomato, and you know, I was like, for hemp, yes, for THC side, I mean, everyone should be able to grow 12 plants at home.
You know, ferment your own wine and your own liquor, and you can make grow your own hops. I mean, where's the real difference if you want to go down that path, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because this one doesn't kill you, so it's bad.
Yeah, right. It should have all the restrictions.
You don't have all the lobbyists that are pushing for it, and
it's too safe.
Everybody else,
it's too safe, and it's going to take care of all these other elements.
and it actually cures and heals and
Yeah, and that's bad for business.
versus killing. Yeah. Oh boy, I tell
You
you.
keep a funeral home open if people are staying alive.
Yeah.
You keep a hospital open if people aren't sick.
Yeah, I mean, going through school for healthcare like just made me hate healthcare more. I say that often. You know, it's
All
a
these
business.
hospitals look like skyscraper hotels.
Yeah.
It's a business. It's, you know, they are running a business, and they have, sadly, they still have shareholders, stakeholders, you know, execs and all this that they got to answer up to, and
Insurance kickbacks and
you know, and it's still a huge area of fraud within our, you know, government is Medicare fraud, and you know, and the use of unnecessary appointments. You know, like you know, you have unnecessary appointments for some people, and then you have others that just can't get in to see a physician, and you know. So for me, luckily I have the knowledge that I can live remotely and not feel bad if I'm an hour away from the hospital.
Yeah.
You know, like, so I kind of deal with that on the regular. Like, our ski hill is an hour away from the hospital, so if somebody gets hurt, you are waiting an hour for an ambulance.
Right.
You know, you learn how to deal with these issues, and you know, so I'm lucky in that aspect. But I've thought about going into just healthcare consulting. Like, send me your medical records. Let me review your tests. Let me review your labs. Like, you know, I can tell you which questions that you need to be asking. I'll guide you through your appointment, or, you know, go with you to your appointment and help you to understand what the doctor said in that quick 5 minutes that he spent with you, and all those words that you didn't understand. You know, or like, you know, I've kind of considered, like, would there be something in that avenue for, you know, healthcare consulting? But now healthcare has kind of gone where telemedicine has definitely helped make healthcare more accessible.
Yeah.
I think about anyone can call now, a doctor on a phone about any time of the day, you know, even through your own medical portal, like with your primary practice. So, you know, that's definitely made it more accessible, but it still is hard for a lot of people to understand what's going on. So,
you either just kind of got to blindly trust, or you go down the opposite. There's kind of no gray area in there. Just,
and luckily, like, I have that integrated approach where, like, I've worked with the cancer center. I've worked with oncology, you know, department of the cancer center. I've worked with the children's department of the cancer center. You know, I've worked with neurosurgery. I've worked with oh my goodness, but a number of different practices that give us experience of being able to talk from both sides of the spectrum and help people to have a better educated choice, or just like how to make a decision from a more informed place, I guess is what I'm looking for. But,
even something as simple as just using RSO, but they can't even handle a grain of rice. But there's other alternatives like suppositories, or, you know, other applications or topically in locations. Simple as, I've never tried the belly button, but, you know, I mean, there's multiple ways to use RSO and FICO versus just, you know, actually consuming it or under the tongue.
You know, I wonder about the belly button. I've heard that. I've not heard a lot about it.
Makes sense. Like, I've seen people use more than RSO, like just other supplements and vitamins in a rub. I've seen it before, but it's still a straight shot into your whole digestive system, pretty much, ain't it? Like,
I mean, from a topical standpoint, I have bad stomach, and I'm bad about using my own products a lot of the times. You know, I'm good about teaching other people, and I'm bad about breaking them out to use for myself. So, but I do that in all aspects of life. Part of it is my trauma response. I tend to hoard. You know, I tend to put things up and think that I might want to use it more another day.
Yeah.
Or, and I'm trying to break that habit of getting things out. Like, okay, you're 45 now. Like, you can start using some of this stuff.
Right.
Use it before the mice eat it. So trying to break those, create new thinking habits in some of those areas. But other trauma responses, I've lost everything a couple times from incarceration. Like when I came home in 2008, I took the vouchers for the Goodwill. I came home wearing state khakis and state shoes. And, I pretty much just the floor to sleep on at my parents' house, and by, I fought through it. I've stayed consistent. Like, I have a lot of friends that still come home from prison, right? In and out. And it's like, you guys, everybody, like, they come home from prison and a lot of them expect the world right away, and it's like, you gotta buckle down and you gotta earn it. Like, and one of my friends is homeless right now and he's living in his truck, and his truck is polished and the rims are polished and all of his shit is in it. And he thinks he deserves $30 an hour to show up with his tools when you've spent the majority of your life in prison and you have no real trade experience. And I'd buckle down for 6 months for the summer if I knew I was going to be set for life after that 6 months. And I'm like, no one is going to be set for life after a 6-month summer. Like, you might have a good position that you can work yourself into.
Right.
Or it's like, you'd rather make no money than take a job making less money. Like, some of these things I don't get sometimes, but it's just, for me, it was buckling down. Like, and then we got cannabis, and I opened a compassion center and just went right away into doing certs. I was still on parole when I started this all, so it's been a battle. It's been the ups and downs, and I've seen it all. And I expected to be rated years and years before I was actually rated. Yeah. I'm glad that they rated me when they did, to an extent, because I had like the best protections ever, because we changed all the laws, and now they're starting to change the laws again to pull back on some of the things that we've done. But it's luckily some of it is in the books, and it should stay and should maintain. And we're never going to lose the medical law.
Yeah.
Even though they try to make it irrelevant. I'm anxious to see what Michigan does with that, because the medical marijuana dispensaries all get the tax exemption now. But the recreational side doesn't. So before, there was no benefit to keep a medical license because it costs more money than a recreational license.
Right.
But if your tax offset now can offset the licensing cost, or the licensing cost is a tax write-off, where before it was like just throwing money into the wind.
Yeah.
So I'm really anxious to see if we can see a real reemergence of the medical program. And how some of these laws will play out, like I mentioned earlier, with the Canadian companies being able to eventually sell into Michigan pharmacies. Like, that's gonna lead and set an example for the rest of the country, and for U.S. pharmacies to be able to fill that void and not have it coming from Canada. So again, this next 20 years is going to be exciting. It's just not going to be as fun as the previous 20.
Right. Not quite the wild, wild west, but yeah.
Yeah, the wild, wild west golden days are over, but now we can finally see some real digging into medicinal research. Yeah. And that is what I'm most excited for, or like the only way I can feel positive, I guess, to some degree, about where the industry is going, is because now it will get an opportunity to help more people and be more mainstream.
Right.
More acceptable, more doctors recommending it, more people considering medical cannabis. You know, recreational use is medical use, but like getting the true medical research behind it, not just the Mississippi grow that had a few federal patients that ground all their sticks, seeds, stems, and flour together to pack a fucking can of joints and ship it to the federal patients. Like, that was garbage. There was no research there. There was no, you know, there was a program to act like they were doing something for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, but I think there's 2 patients that are still alive. I met one of them, and he like was selling pins and selling a book, and I have it somewhere. But and then the other was Alice O'Leary's husband. Oh my goodness, Robert C. Randall. He was the first federal cannabis patient, and his wife came to Michigan and did some work in Michigan. And I got to spend some time with her throughout the years. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah. I'll be like one of the last like OGs, because I was the young kid coming into this, like full tilt, ball to the wall, giving it everything I got. Like, you know, it was day in and day out has been my full-time job for the last 17 years, you know, since we passed medical marijuana. Since I'd say, I mean, my first card was April of 2008 with the first issuance of cards in Michigan.
Yeah.
And I rode the bus with a whole group. We made it an event in Lansing. We all met at this like cafe, and we took a tour bus to the Capitol to where they wanted like the registration forms dropped off. And like the news was there filming us all going in to drop off our applications for our med cards. My parole officer saw me on the news. And I was like, well, good. Now you know. I went in to see him like the next week, and it was like, yep, saw you on the news. I was like, well, I told you I was doing it. Like, you know, I already told you to go to your boss and figure out how we're going to handle this, because it's a new law, and you've been locking me up over these laws for a long time, and now it says you can't. Like, but I was like, yeah, so you know, my next urine screen that I just took is dirty, and by the time you get the test results, I will have my card, and I'm not sure what y'all want to do about it, but we'll figure it out, won't we? Like. And I ended up going to jail once after that for weed. They wrote it up as something else. I had 2 blunts in my work truck with a med card. I was still on parole. I ended up fighting it for like a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
They gave my attorney a job with like federal courts, so they pretty much stole my attorney from me, so I couldn't continue to fight them because they knew he would win. And I ended up taking a plea bargain for, I think, disturbing the peace.
Wow.
Just so I could get over it. But I did 30 days in jail on a parole detainer. Yeah, with a card for my marijuana. And honestly, if I could get an attorney to go back in time now, I don't know if there's a statute of limitation or not, but that was a direct violation of my rights under the Medical Marijuana Act, and I probably could get some repercussions for that. But you know, because the law says we're not supposed to be disciplined or prosecuted in any way for our medical use of cannabis.
Yeah.
And now it's been held in the higher courts, where like at that time, like, you know, that's why I've made so many changes within this industry I've been a part of, because like we are building it as we go, and we're forcing them to respond to our actions. We're forcing their hand at times, like pushing the line to see what we can get away with and what they're going to come back with. Like, if you guys haven't been up here yet to see a Hash Bash Cup, man, you're missing one of the greatest underground events that you'll ever experience within the cannabis space.
That's awesome.
It's always the first Saturday
Yeah.
in April, and it's a whole weekend of taking over hotels, smoking inside, free for all. And I still can't believe that it continues. Like, we're
Wow.
10 years in now or something, like,
Yeah.
with just that event, renting, like, they built a second hotel, like on the property, so we can still only smoke in the one, but we have 2 hotels that we completely take over. You know, I didn't go to Hash Bash. This was the first year I did not drive down for Hash Bash, so a farther of a drive for me, and until my kid's a little older to experience the better weather.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an event. So any of you guys, if you have not, check it out. Hash Bash Cup. It's the one event in Michigan that reminds us of the old days.
Nice.
It truly does. And it brings in a lot of celebrities. Like, we've had a lot of names over the years for that event. So
Very cool.
yeah. And it's still that area for them trappers, you know.
Yeah.
And you can't have all that stuff getting tracked at the border all the time.
Why don't you, Crimson, you want to put up his contact information again? So I see just so everybody knows where you can be found.
Well, here's his Instagram.
Yeah.
Then from there you can go to the link tree, which will take you to the websites. And
yeah, I got that set up pretty decently, connected at least from my homepage, my main page, main account. Some marketing people tell me I should be doing everything from my business account and but my name is what's in the books. So I always get mixed feelings on how to market these businesses to some extent, you know, because, like, I'm who most people want to get to, not necessarily my product, but I want my product to be eventually better known than myself.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a difference of trying to figure out that why we have to pay lovely people like you to guide us through our marketing. The psychology behind it's insane.
Yeah, it is.
well, we appreciate being here again, chatting.
Absolutely. I learned a lot.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
You're fine.
I thank you for having me on. I thank you for giving me an opportunity to still share some information.
Oh, absolutely.
Still educate people, you know, and share why, you know, and the love for why we do this, right? Like, it goes back to the cultivation aspects, like that I miss more than anything. And learning my plants made me learn about me.
Yeah.
I can feel that. Yep.
And
that one.
You learn what your plant's like. You know, you learn, it's just, there's so much that can be absorbed from that. And like, I used to be able to walk into a room with like a couple thousand genetics, and you could just like point at what genetic was what, you know, without even reading any names. Like, I could tell the leaf structure of the cannatonic number 4 apart from any other plant. And sometimes clones got mislabeled when I had people helping, or even myself, right? Like, sometimes I made mislabeled one. And I could always, you know, find those cannatonics in the garden, you know, because I knew that plant so well. And you learn that of other strains, and you learn the feeding structure. You know, I was one that I was like a garbage grower. Like, whatever nutrients I was given at an event, I would use. right? Yes, I'm a canna cocoa grower. I will always love my canna and love my cocoa grows. But when it comes down to it, NPK is NPK, right? Nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. Like, those are the building blocks, the same building blocks that we need in our life, right? Our like the same amino acids, the same humic acids that we're going for in our plants to make them grow better. We're looking for in our own self also.
Yeah.
You know, B vitamins, you know, the sunlight and how the plant responds to the sunlight versus how we respond to the sunlight. You know, these things all taught me more about how to better take care of myself and my patients.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, it's been a huge part of it for me. You know, and then I did the actual trained healthcare side, you know, but
Right.
medical cannabis is the reason that I am in healthcare and am a first responder today,
Nice.
right? Is because of what we learned through growing, being more aware, being more, you know, conscious of what's going on, being more conscious of your inputs, what you're putting into your body, what you're fueling yourself with. All that stuff comes back to cultivation. So if you're in a state and you have the right to cultivate and you're not cultivating, you're missing out on a lot of benefit, mental benefit, physical benefit, health benefit, that all comes from just playing in the dirt. So get those gardens going. You can't grow cannabis, go grow your vegetables, go grow your tomatoes. Right, cultivate whatever you can.
Since we're on that peppers and lettuce right now, because I'm just like, I'm gonna lose my shit if I don't freaking grow something.
And you know, and in this day and age, it's gonna get probably harder. And I mean, everyone I know in the last year has really struggled more than there's been prosper. And just the way society's going, the way things are going, the way the war's going, like, things are likely gonna get more difficult before they get better.
Yeah.
And picking something that you use on a regular basis and cultivating it, notice the supplement of how you get to spend your money, right? And then the benefits of being able to cultivate and supply that for yourself versus going to the grocery store. You know, if you can't grow your own medicine, then grow some of your own food. If you don't have a lot of room, then grow some microgreens, right?
You can't grow your own food, find somebody that can.
So I'll leave it on that. Like, cultivate something, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Cultivate a relationship, cultivate a plant, cultivate something healthy today.
Yep.
I like it. I like it. Great note to end it on.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
I appreciate you so much.
Hey, thank you guys. I will talk to you again soon.
Awesome.
And you guys have a great night.
You too.
Much love to you all. Thank you
Thanks
all
everyone for tuning in and listening to the story.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, man. Night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great night.
Peace, guys.